We were up in Kohler. That's what I remember primarily.
With the breeding?
With the breeding. Up in Kohler and listening to my mother and Linda Kohler talking about their brood mares and what stallions they liked and what brood mares they loved, and it was just a friendship, you know, it was just a common discussion among friends. And we really didn't, we had 1 or 2 brood mares up in Kohler, but it wasn't something as serious as we're doing now. And then through Cedar Creek, also the same thing, getting to know Larry and Bob and John, their program, their brood mares we loved. And then again at Rockwalker Stables, getting to know different lines.
We always bred what we loved. We liked the personalities, we liked how they had the drive behind, so that's how we decided that's who we were going to breed to, who we were going to breed to.
I don't count. We do count how many mares we're going to have, but we don't count the mass. I know we have maybe 8 on the registration. We have 8 pages on the registration, but that's all the horses that have the Dragonsmeade prefix.
From the very beginning.
And then we also have DMH for Dragonsmeade horse. So we have a few on there.
When the names got too long.
Yes.
We cheated.
Have an option. I think we love the stock out of HVK Dragonfly and Obsidian that she's produced. Cedar Creek Pirouette has produced some phenomenal horses for us too. Black Tie Debutante bred to Beethoven. That cross has worked beautifully. We've been very lucky, and when you can see through full siblings the stamp, they look all very similar, that's wonderful. And then to see the horses that you've sold go on and be successful for their new owners and several new owners down the line, and that's happened repeatedly, and that is very satisfying, and we've met very nice people through the years. Then that's fun. We love that.
And it's interesting to see how sometimes with the color, even with full siblings, if you have several bay ones, they look the same, but then if you have several chestnut ones with the same bloodline, they look like the chestnut ones. So sometimes there's a connection with the color, apparently, and the genetics that makes them physically different. So it's interesting to see that kind of connection between the siblings.
That's been true in particular with Cedar Creek Pirouette, bred to HVK Belfleur. Many full siblings, but the chestnuts are significantly different than the brown. The brown look identical almost, and the chestnut fillies that we have at the farm that we'll use for breeding, they're younger, but they look very similar. You wouldn't even know they were related to the brown. You know, it's very interesting. We have Beethoven Bocelli, And the Beat Goes On, Dragonsmeade Icon, and Dragonsmeade Exios. Of course, we were so happy when he won the World Champion Stallion and the Amateur Park Saddle, and then with Tim winning the Park Saddle class, that was wonderful. But to have him produce nice babies, and then his half-brother, Exios, by And the Beat Goes On out of HVK Obsidian, they are both producing very different stock. Icons are younger. He hasn't bred as much, and Exios had a year of stall rest, and so we were able to breed him a lot more. And it's fun to see those babies in the ring and being successful for new owners and going to new places, so it's good. Well, last year we had 5, and I think the most we've had since having the farm in Kentucky since 1999, we had 17. But that was with some mares that we purchased that were in foal, and that was the most.
We were starting off with a bang.
Yes, yes. And so we have maybe 8 to 10, but we had 5 last year. Just the last couple of years, we've bred Donatella, one of our top foundation brood mares that she just produces just a steady offspring that are stamped. She's very dominant. She's the half-sister to Mizrahi. And she produced, by Bocelli, 3 full siblings, Zanetti, Cavalli, and Varvatos. Varvatos is a park saddle horse, Cavalli is a Western horse, and Zanetti is a pleasure horse, and they're all world champions. And they look very similar, but I love it that they are in different divisions, and you can see Donatella, but you can also see Bocelli. You can see the Beethoven, and it's wonderful. It's fun to see that.
2 years ago, we bred Donatella to
Hollybrook Stage Rage, and his foals are beautiful, and they have a nice stretch, but they're not so stretchy that you've lost that Morgan type, and they're beautiful. And so we thought we'd try that. We bought his service at the Stallion Service Auction, and she's 2 years old and showing here, and we just recently sold her to Laura Lyons. Her name is Dragonsmeade, and so that's fun. If we were to breed every mare, it would be too many. And so we don't do that. We try not to. It's difficult because, but with Obsidian and Donatella, we try to breed those mares every year. And Cedar Creek Pirouette is older now. She had her last foal this year. And thankfully we have 3, 4 daughters out of her that will be able to have babies. But it just depends. I look at my sheet, actually starting here, I start looking and just think about what to do in November and December, and Jan and I get together in January, and she gets the list and we go from there. But the last couple of years I've nixed some off the list and then added a few. I think it's driven her crazy. But we're very blessed to have Jane Banks at the farm, and she's been there since the beginning and managed the horses so well. I think the maternal line is very important in our studs, in the dams too. That is paramount, I think. That's what draws us. My mother has always loved the maternal line, and I think that's transferred to us and what we pick. When I think back, I mean, I think, of course, Mr. Kohler with HVK, and I think Sherri Coale and her father. But when you see the topic daughters that Sherri Coale produced, they're so important. She has produced fabulous horses. You know, the breeding programs, I think you have to fall in love with the stock that you're familiar with. I don't think you can go out there. I mean, you can study it, but you really have to, it has to have an emotional connection in order to keep the passion up, you know, so important. Just to keep it a business and not to do deals. It's very important, and to hold your ground. As if you're wanting to stand your studs, it's very difficult to stand your studs. And or sell your embryos, because sometimes people don't understand that Mother Nature just doesn't work all the time as it should, and it's expensive. I think you really have to do your research and figure out how expensive it's going to be before you even attempt to breed. If I could breed the ideal Morgan, past, present, future, we loved Destiny's Echo. Ladies Enticement, we loved.
Topfield Janet.
Topfield Janet.
And
yes.
again, those are all strong, very strong mares. It's interesting that we focus more on the mares than the studs. What studs would you? I know we were pretty blessed because we got many of the bloodlines from the ones that we all love. We have a lot of Vigil March. And you can see it in some of the stock that we show this day.
And the Belle Flare.
And the Belle Flare.
Yes. I would have to say probably Belle Flare. It would have been nice to cross him to
So she's always planning the crosses in her brain.
Yes, yes. But it's difficult because it's not just one cross. I can't. And when you think back to a certain class through the years, and I love Destiny's Echo. I loved seeing Lisa show her.
Who would you have bred her to?
It would have been fun to breed her to Icon, I think, or Axios. And not because we own them. Yeah, it would be wonderful to see that cross, but not to be. I wish I could see in the future and see that we can continue breeding and that the Morgan horse will continue to grow as it's growing. That's what I would like to have known.
And the Longenecker for Dragonsmeade and Stables bring these the world champion.
I think it's important to you educate yourself through learning, and not your favorite mare is going to get in foal every year, and you just have to know that things are going to happen, and you just have to go with the flow. There's only so much you can do. It is difficult. Breeding is very difficult, and I think you really, again, you have to love it in order to continue to do it. And just love the horses, period. I don't think we would have changed anything. We're very lucky to be at the barns that we've been at throughout the years. We learned at each of those barns, and
we're still friends with each of those barns.
Yes, and I think it's very important to go along and learn, and not think you can change things. You can strive to be the best, and strive to do your best, and
do the best for that horse.
Yes, and keep your scruples. I think that's very important. The advice we could give them is there isn't a formula. I've had people ask me about breeding coefficients, and I have absolutely no idea what breeding coefficients are. I was a biology major and I still don't know. You know, I think you can look through, and you can look through the pedigrees for generations. And we are lucky with our breed, the Morgan horse, that it has grown through the years, and it's still a Morgan horse, but it's been able to contemporize itself through good breeders, through the many generations.
To be able to change with the times, and even if you look at horses now, you can pick up some individuals and lay them right against some of the older stock. And comparing the two from years ago and from now, there sometimes is not that much of a difference, and I think that that is a true respect that the breeding people have done to the breed. I think that they've tried to keep everything similar, except improve and refine and keep the breed modern.
Yes. And another advice too is also to get one good mare that is already a proven producer, and because that mare will stamp that foal no matter she's crossed to. She can have a baby by many studs, and that quality that you have drawn to that mare will be in that foal.
And you'll be able to look at each one of her babies and see that individual stamp that she's put on them, even though they're sired by different studs.
So get one good mare and continue. That's that, and put your own little spark. Pick your own stud, and it doesn't have to be the stud that is the trendy stud
of the moment.
There are some stallions that aren't popular and have bred years ago and had wonderful foals, and then younger studs came up and took over. Look back and look at the studs from 10 years ago, and if you're able to breed to them,
take advantage of that.
And but one good mare, that's the advice.